translation of Sahih Bukhari, Book 50, Conditions. Volume 3, Book 50, number 874. Narrated Marwan and al-Miswar bin Makrama, from the companions of Allah's Apostle, when Suhail bin Amr agreed to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, one of the things he stipulated then, was that the Prophet should return to them, that is the pagans, anyone coming to him from their side, even if he was a Muslim, and would not interfere between them and that person. The Muslims did not like this condition and got disgusted with it. Suhail did not agree except with that condition. So, the Prophet agreed to that condition and returned Abu Jandal to his father Suhail bin Amr. Thenceforward the Prophet returned everyone in that period of truce even if he was a Muslim. During that period some believing women emigrants including Kalthum bin Uqba bin Abu Muwayt who came to Allah's Apostle, and she was a young lady then. Her relative came to the Prophet and asked him to return her, but the Prophet did not return her to them, for Allah had revealed the following verse regarding women: O you who believe! When the believing women come to you as emigrants, examine them, Allah knows best as to their belief, then if you know them for true believers, send them not back to the unbelievers, for they are not lawful wives for the disbelievers, nor are the unbelievers lawful husbands for them. Quran 60 verse 10, narrated Urwa, Aisha told me, Allah's Apostle used to examine them according to this verse: O you who believe! When the believing women come to you, as emigrants, test them, for Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Quran 60 verse 10-12. Aisha said, when any of them agreed to that condition, Allah's Apostle would say to her, I have accepted your pledge of allegiance. He would only say that, but, by Allah, he never touched the hand of any woman, that is, never shook hands with them while taking the pledge of allegiance, and he never took their pledge of allegiance except by his words only. Number 875, narrated Jarir, when I gave the pledge of allegiance to Allah's Apostle and he stipulated that I should give good advice to every Muslim. Number 876, narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, I gave a pledge of allegiance to Allah's Apostle for offering the prayers perfectly, paying the zakat, and giving good advice to every Muslim. Number 877, narrated Abdullah bin Umar, Allah's Apostle said, if someone sells pollinated date palms, their fruits will be for the seller, unless the buyer stipulates the contrary. Number 878, narrated Urwa, Aisha told me that Briar came to seek her help in writing for emancipation, and at that time she had not paid any part of her price. Aisha said to her, go to your masters, and if they agree that I will pay your price and free you on condition that your wallah will be for me, I will pay the money. Briar told her masters about that, but they refused, and said, if Aisha wants to do a favor she could, but your wallah will be for us. Aisha informed Allah's Apostle of that, and he said to her, buy and manumit Briar, as the wallah will go to the manumitted. Number 879, narrated Jabir, while I was riding a slow and tired camel, the Prophet passed by and beat it and prayed for Allah's blessings for it. The camel became so fast as it had never been before. The Prophet then said, sell it to me for 1 uqiyah of gold. I said, no. He again said, sell it to me for 1 uqiyah of gold. I sold it and stipulated that I should ride it to my house. When we reached Medina, I took that camel to the Prophet and he gave me its price. I returned home, but he sent for me, and when I went to him he said, I will not take your camel. Take your camel as a gift for you. Various narrations are mentioned here with slight variations in expressions relating the condition that Jabir had the right to ride the sold camel up to Medina. Number 880, narrated Abu Hurairah, the answer said to the Prophet, divide our date palms between us and our emigrant brothers. The Prophet said, no. The answer said to the emigrants, you may do the labor in our gardens and we will share the fruits with you. The emigrants said, we hear and obey. Number 881, narrated Abdullah bin Umar, Allah's Apostle gave the land of Khaybar to the Jews on the condition that they would work on it and cultivate it, and they would get half of its yield. Number 882, narrated Uqba bin Amir, Allah's Apostle said, from among all the conditions which you have to fulfill, the conditions which make it legal for you to have sexual relations, that is the marriage contract, have the greatest right to be fulfilled. Number 883, narrated Rafi bint Khadij, we used to work on the fields more than the other answer, and we used to rent the land for the yield of a specific portion of it, but sometimes that portion or the rest of the land did not give any yield, so we were forbidden by the Prophet to follow such a system, but we were allowed to rent the land for money. Number 884, narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, no town dweller should sell for a Bedouin. Do not practice najash, that is, do not offer a high price for a thing which you do not want to buy, in order to deceive the people. No Muslim should offer more for a thing already bought by his Muslim brother, nor should he demand the hand of a girl already engaged to another Muslim. A Muslim woman shall not try to bring about the divorce of her sister that is another Muslim woman in order to take her place herself. Number 885, narrated Abu Hurairah and Zayd bin Khalid al-Juhani, a Bedouin came to Allah's Apostle and said, O Allah's Apostle, I ask you by Allah to judge my case according to Allah's laws. His opponent, who was more learned than he, said, Yes, judge between us according to Allah's laws, and allow me to speak. Allah's Apostle said, Speak. He that is the Bedouin or the other man said, My son was working as a laborer for this man and he committed illegal sexual intercourse with his wife. The people told me that it was obligatory that my son should be stoned to death, so in lieu of that I ransomed my son by paying 100 sheep and a slave girl. Then I asked the religious scholars about it, and they informed me that my son must be lashed 100 lashes, and be exiled for 1 year, and the wife of this man must be stoned to death. Allah's Apostle said, By him in whose hands my soul is, I will judge between you according to Allah's laws. The slave girl and the sheep are to be returned to you, your son is to receive 100 lashes and be exiled for 1 year. You, Anas, go to the wife of this man and if she confesses her guilt, stone her to death. Anas went to that woman next morning and she confessed. Allah's Apostle ordered that she be stoned to death. Number 887, narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle forbade 1. The meeting of the caravan of goods on the way, 2. And that a residing person buys for a Bedouin, 3. And that a woman stipulates the divorce of the wife of the would-be husband, 4. And that a man tries to cause the cancellation of a bargain concluded by another. He also forbade an najash, see Hadith 824, and that one withholds the milk in the udder of the animal so that he may deceive people on selling it. Number 888, narrated Ubay bin Ka'b, Allah's Apostle said, Moses the Apostle of Allah, and then he narrated the whole story about him. Al-Qadr said to Moses, Did not I tell you that you can have no patience with me? Quran 18 verse 72. Moses then violated the agreement for the first time because of forgetfulness. Then Moses promised that if he asked Al-Qadr about anything, the latter would have the right to desert him. Moses abided by that condition, and on the third occasion he intentionally asked Al-Qadr and caused that condition to be applied. The 3 occasions referred to above are referred to by the following verses, Call me not to account for forgetting and be not hard upon me. Quran 18 verse 73, Then they met a boy and Qadr killed him. Quran 18 verse 74, Then they proceeded and found a wall which was on the verge of falling and Qadr set it up straight. Quran 18 verse 77. Number 889, narrated Urwa, Aisha said, Burayah came to me and said, My people masters have written the contract for my emancipation for 9 awaq of gold to be paid in yearly installments, 1 uqiyah per year. So help me. Aisha said to her, If your masters agree, I will pay them the whole sum provided the wallah will be for me. Burayah went to her masters and told them about it, but they refused the offer and she returned from them while Allah's Apostles was sitting. She said, I presented the offer to them, but they refused unless the wallah would be for them. When the Prophet heard that and Aisha told him about it, he said to her, Buy Burayah and let them stipulate that her wallah will be for them, as the wallah is for the man omitted. Aisha did so. After that Allah's Apostle got up amidst the people, glorified and praised Allah and said, What is wrong with some people who stipulate things which are not in Allah's laws? Any condition which is not in Allah's laws is invalid even if there were 100 such conditions. Allah's rules are the most valid and Allah's conditions are the most solid. The wallah is for the man omitted. Number 890, narrated Ibn Umar, when the people of Khaybar dislocated Abdullah bin Umar's hands and feet, Umar got up delivering a sermon saying, "No doubt, Allah's apostle made a contract with the Jews concerning their properties, and said to them, 'We allow you to stand in your land as long as Allah allows you.' Now Abdullah bin Umar went to his land and was attacked at night, and his hands and feet were dislocated, and as we have no enemies there except those Jews, they are our enemies and the only people whom we suspect, I have made up my mind to exile them." When Umar decided to carry out his decision, a son of Abu al-Hakaks came and addressed Umar, "O chief of the believers, will you exile us although Muhammad allowed us to stay at our places, and made a contract with us about our properties, and accepted the condition of our residence in our land?" Umar said, "Do you think that I have forgotten the statement of Allah's apostle, that is what will your condition be when you are expelled from Khaybar and your camel will be carrying you night after night?" The Jew replied, "That was joke from Abu al-Qasim." Umar said, "O the enemy of Allah, you are telling a lie." Umar then drove them out and paid them the price of their properties in the form of fruits, money, camel saddles and ropes, etc. Number 891, narrated Al-Miswar bin Makrama and Marwan, whose narrations attest each other, Allah's apostle set out at the time of Al-Hudaybiyah treaty, and when they proceeded for a distance, he said, "Khalid bin al-Walid leading the cavalry of Quraysh constituting the front of the army, is at a place called Al-Gamam, so take the way on the right." By Allah, Khalid did not perceive the arrival of the Muslims till the dust arising from the march of the Muslim army reached him, and then he turned back hurriedly to inform Quraysh. The Prophet went on advancing till he reached the Thaniya, that is a mountainous way through which one would go to them, that is people of Quraysh. The she-camel of the Prophet sat down. The people tried their best to cause the she-camel to get up, but in vain, so they said, "Al-Kazwa, that is the she-camel's name, has become stubborn. Al-Kazwa has become stubborn." The Prophet said, "Al-Kazwa has not become stubborn, for stubbornness is not her habit, but she was stopped by him who stopped the elephant." Then he said, "By the name of him in whose hands my soul is, if they, that is the Quraysh infidels, ask me anything which will respect the ordinances of Allah, I will grant it to them." The Prophet then rebuked the she-camel and she got up. The Prophet changed his way till he dismounted at the farthest end of Al-Hudaybiyah at a pit that is well containing a little water which the people used in small amounts, and in a short while the people used up all its water and complained to Allah's apostle of thirst. The Prophet took an arrow out of his arrow case and ordered them to put the arrow in that pit. By Allah, the water started and continued sprouting out till all the people quenched their thirst and returned with satisfaction. While they were still in that state, Budayl bin Murka al-Khuzai came with some persons from his tribe Khuzaya, and they were the advisors of Allah's apostle who would keep no secret from him and were from the people of Talma. Budayl said, "I left Kab bin Lu'ay and Amir bin Lu'ay residing at the profuse water of Al-Hudaybiyah, and they had milch camels or their women and children with them, and will wage war against you, and will prevent you from visiting the Kaaba." Allah's apostle said, "We have not come to fight anyone, but to perform the Umrah. No doubt, the war has weakened Quraysh and they have suffered great losses, so if they wish, I will conclude a truce with them, during which they should refrain from interfering between me and the people, that is the Arab infidels other than Quraysh, and if I have victory over those infidels, Quraysh will have the option to embrace Islam as the other people do, if they wish. They will at least get strong enough to fight. But if they do not accept the truce, by Allah in whose hands my life is, I will fight with them defending my cause till I get killed, but I am sure Allah will definitely make his cause victorious." Budayl said, "I will inform them of what you have said." So, he set off till he reached Quraysh and said, "We have come from that man that is Muhammad, whom we heard saying something which we will disclose to you if you should like." Some of the fools among Quraysh shouted that they were not in need of this information, but the wiser among them said, "Relate what you heard him saying." Budayl said, "I heard him saying so and so," relating what the Prophet had told him. Urwa bin Mas'ud got up and said, "O people! Aren't you the sons?" They said, "Yes." He added, "Am I not the father?" They said, "Yes." He said, "Do you mistrust me?" They said, "No." he said, "Don't you know that I invited the people of Uqas for your help, and when they refused I brought my relatives and children and those who obeyed me to help you?" They said, "Yes." He said, "Well, this man that is the Prophet has offered you a reasonable proposal, you'd better accept it and allow me to meet him." They said, "You may meet him." So, he went to the Prophet and started talking to him. The Prophet told him almost the same as he had told Budayl. Then Urwa said, "O Muhammad, won't you feel any scruple in extirpating your relations? Have you ever heard of anyone amongst the Arabs extirpating his relatives before you? On the other hand, if the reverse should happen, nobody will aid you, for by Allah, I do not see with you dignified people, but people from various tribes who would run away leaving you alone." Hearing that, Abu Bakr abused him and said, "Do you say we would run and leave the Prophet alone?" Urwa said, "Who is that man?" They said, "He is Abu Bakr." Urwa said to Abu Bakr, "By him in whose hands my life is, were it not for the favor which you did to me and which I did not compensate, I would retort on you." Urwa kept on talking to the Prophet and seizing the Prophet's beard as he was talking, while Al-Mughira bin Shu'bah was standing near the head of the Prophet, holding a sword and wearing a helmet. Whenever Urwa stretched his hand towards the beard of the Prophet, Al-Mughira would hit his hand with the handle of the sword and say to Urwa, "Remove your hand from the beard of Allah's Apostle." Urwa raised his head and asked, "Who is that?" The people said, "He is Al-Mughira bin Shu'bah." Urwa said, "O treacherous! Am I not doing my best to prevent evil consequences of your treachery?" Before embracing Islam, Al-Mughira was in the company of some people. He killed them and took their property and came to Medina to embrace Islam. The Prophet said to him, "As regards your Islam, I accept it, but as for the property I do not take anything of it." As it was taken through treason, Urwa then started looking at the companions of the Prophet. By Allah, whenever Allah's Apostle spat, the spittle would fall in the hand of one of them, that is the Prophet's companions, who would rub it on his face and skin. If he ordered them, they would carry his orders immediately. If he performed ablution, they would struggle to take the remaining water. And when they spoke to him, they would lower their voices and would not look at his face constantly out of respect. Urwa returned to his people and said, "O people! By Allah, I have been to the kings and to Caesar, Khosrau and Najashi, yet I have never seen any of them respected by his courtiers as much as Muhammad is respected by his companions. By Allah, if he spat, the spittle would fall in the hand of one of them, that is the Prophet's companions, who would rub it on his face and skin. If he ordered them, they would carry out his order immediately. If he performed ablution, they would struggle to take the remaining water. And when they spoke, they would lower their voices and would not look at his face constantly out of respect." Urwa added, "No doubt, he has presented to you a good reasonable offer, so please accept it." A man from the tribe of Bani Kanana said, "Allow me to go to him," and they allowed him, and when he approached the Prophet and his companions, Allah's Apostle said, "He is so-and-so who belongs to the tribe that respects the bodan, that is camels of the sacrifice, so, bring the bodan in front of him." So, the bodan were brought before him and the people received him while they were reciting Talbiyah. When he saw that scene, he said, "Glorified be Allah! It is not fair to prevent these people from visiting the Kaaba." When he returned to his people, he said, "I saw the bodan garlanded with colored knotted ropes and marked with stabs on their backs. I do not think it is advisable to prevent them from visiting the Kaaba." Another person called Mikraz bin Hafs got up and sought their permission to go to Muhammad, and they allowed him, too. When he approached the Muslims, the Prophet said, "Here is Mikraz, and he is a vicious man." Mikraz started talking to the Prophet, and as he was talking, Suhail bin Amr came. When Suhail bin Amr came, the Prophet said, "Now the matter has become easy." Suhail said to the Prophet, "Please conclude a peace treaty with us." So, the Prophet called the clerk and said to him, "Write by the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful." Suhail said, "As for beneficent, by Allah, I do not know what it means." So write, "By your name, O Allah, as you used to write previously." The Muslim says, "By Allah, we will not write except, by the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful." The Prophet said, "Write, by your name, O Allah." Then he dictated, "This is the peace treaty which Muhammad, Allah's apostle, has concluded." Suhail said, "By Allah, if we knew that you are Allah's apostle, we would not prevent you from visiting the Kaaba, and would not fight with you. So, write, Muhammad bin Abdullah." The Prophet said, "By Allah, I am apostle of Allah even if you people do not believe me. Write, Muhammad bin Abdullah." Azari said, "The Prophet accepted all those things, as he had already said that he would accept everything they would demand if it respects the ordinance of Allah, that is by letting him and his companions perform Umrah." The Prophet said to Suhail, "On the condition that you allow us to visit the house that is Kaaba so that we may perform tawaf around it." Suhail said, "By Allah, we will not allow you this year so as not to give chance to the Arabs to say that we have yielded to you, but we will allow you next year." So, the Prophet got that written. Then Suhail said, "We also stipulate that you should return to us whoever comes to you from us, even if he embraced your religion." The Muslim says, "Glorified be Allah! How will such a person be returned to the pagans after he has become a Muslim?" While they were in this state, Abu Jahl bin Suhail bin Amr came from the valley of Mecca staggering with his fetters and fell down amongst the Muslims. Suhail said, "O Muhammad, this is the very first term with which we make peace with you, that is, you shall return Abu Jahl to me." The Prophet said, "The peace treaty has not been written yet." Suhail said, "I will never allow you to keep him." The Prophet said, "Yes, do." He said, "I won't do." Mikraz says, "We allow you to keep him." Abu Jahl said, "O Muslims, will I be returned to the pagans though I have come as a Muslim? Don't you see how much I have suffered?" Abu Jahl had been tortured severely for the cause of Allah. Umar bin al-Khattab said, "I went to the Prophet and said, 'Aren't you truly the apostle of Allah?' The Prophet said, 'Yes, indeed.' I said, 'Isn't our cause just and the cause of the enemy unjust?' He said, 'Yes.' I said, 'Then why should we be humble in our religion?' He said, 'I am Allah's apostle and I do not disobey him, and he will make me victorious.' I said, 'Didn't you tell us that we would go to the Kaaba and perform tawaf around it?' He said, 'Yes, but did I tell you that we would visit the Kaaba this year?' I said, 'No.' He said, 'So you will visit it and perform tawaf around it?' Umar further said, 'I went to Abu Bakr and said, O Abu Bakr, isn't he truly Allah's prophet?' He replied, 'Yes.' I said, 'Then why should we be humble in our religion?' He said, 'Indeed, he is Allah's apostle and he does not disobey his Lord, and he will make him victorious. Adhere to him as, by Allah, he is on the right.' I said, 'Was he not telling us that we would go to the Kaaba and perform tawaf around it?' He said, 'Yes, but did he tell you that you would go to the Kaaba this year?' I said, 'No.' He said, 'You will go to Kaaba and perform tawaf around it.' Azari said, Umar said, 'I performed many good deeds as expiation for the improper questions I asked them.' When the writing of the peace treaty was concluded, Allah's apostle said to his companions, 'Get up and slaughter your sacrifices and get your head shaved.' By Allah, none of them got up, and the Prophet repeated his order thrice. When none of them got up, he left them and went to Salama and told her of the people's attitudes towards him. Salama said, 'O the Prophet of Allah, do you want your order to be carried out? Go out and don't say a word to anybody till you have slaughtered your sacrifice and call your barber to shave your head.' So, the Prophet went out and did not talk to any one of them till he did that is slaughtered the sacrifice and called his barber who shaved his head. Seeing that, the companions of the Prophet got up, slaughtered their sacrifices, and started shaving the heads of one another, and there was so much rush that there was a danger of killing each other. Then some believing women came to the Prophet, and Allah revealed the following divine verses. O you who believe, when the believing women come to you as emigrants, examine them. Quran 60 verse 10. Umar then divorced 2 wives of his who were infidels. Later on, Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan married one of them, and Safwan bin Umayyah married the other. When the Prophet returned to Medina, Abu Bakr, a new Muslim convert from Quraysh, came to him. The infidels sent in his pursuit 2 men who said to the Prophet, "Abide by the promise you gave us." So, the Prophet handed him over to them. They took him out of the city till they reached Dhul Hulayfa, where they dismounted to eat some dates they had with them. Abu Bakr said to one of them, "By Allah, O so-and-so, I see you have a fine sword." The other drew it out of the scabbard and said, "By Allah, it is very fine and I have tried it many times." Abu Bakr said, "Let me have a look at it." When the other gave it to him, he hit him with it till he died, and his companion ran away till he came to Medina and entered the mosque running. When Allah's apostle saw him, he said, "This man appears to have been frightened." When he reached the Prophet, he said, "My companion has been murdered and I would have been murdered too." Abu Bakr came and said, "O Allah's apostle, by Allah, Allah has made you fulfill your obligations by your returning me to them, that is the infidels, but Allah has saved me from them." The Prophet said, "Woe to his mother! What excellent war kindler he would be, should he only have supporters." When Abu Bakr heard that, he understood that the Prophet would return him to them again, so he set off till he reached the seashore. Abu Jahl bin Suhail got himself released from them, that is infidels, and joined Abu Bakr. So, whenever a man from Quraysh embraced Islam, he would follow Abu Bakr till they formed a strong group. By Allah, whenever they heard about a caravan of Quraysh heading towards Shem, they stopped it and attacked and killed them, that is infidels, and took their properties. The people of Quraysh sent a message to the Prophet requesting him for the sake of Allah and kith and kin to send for, that is Abu Bakr and his companions, promising that whoever amongst them came to the Prophet would be secure. So the Prophet sent for them, that is Abu Bakr's companions, and Allah revealed the following divine verses. "And it is He who has withheld their hands from you and your hands from them in the midst of Mecca, after He made you the victorious over them." The unbelievers had pride and haughtiness in their hearts, the pride and haughtiness of the time of ignorance. Quran 48 verse 24-26, "And their pride and haughtiness was that they did not confess right in the treaty that he, that is Muhammad, was the Prophet of Allah, and refused to write in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, and prevented the mushriks from visiting the Kaaba." Narrated Azari, Urwa said, "Aisha told me that Allah's apostle used to examine the women emigrants. We have been told also that when Allah revealed the order that the Muslims should return to the pagans what they had spent on their wives who emigrated after embracing Islam, and that the mushriks should not keep unbelieving women as their wives, Umar divorced 2 of his wives, Qariba, the daughter of Abu Rayya, and the daughter of Jarwal al-Khuzai. Later on, Mu'awiyah married Qariba and Abu Jam married the other. When the pagans refused to pay what the Muslims had spent on their wives, Allah revealed, "And if any of your wives have gone from you to the unbelievers, and you have an accession by the coming over of a woman from the other side, then pay to those whose wives have gone the equivalent of what they had spent on their mahar." Quran 60 verse 11. So, Allah ordered that the Muslim whose wife has gone should be given, as a compensation of the mahar he had given to his wife, from the mahar of the wives of the pagans who had emigrated deserting their husbands. We do not know any of the women emigrants who deserted Islam after embracing it. We have also been told that Abu Bakr bin Asad al-Thaqafi came to the Prophet as a Muslim emigrant during the truce. Al-Qanas bin Sharik wrote to the Prophet requesting him to return Abu Bakr. Number 892, narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle mentioned a person who asked an Israeli man to lend him 1,000 dinars, and the Israeli lent him the sum for a certain fixed period. Number 893, narrated Amra, Aisha said that Briar came to seek her help in the writing of her emancipation. Aisha said to her, "If you wish, I will pay your masters your price and the wallah will be for me." When Allah's apostle came, she told him about it. The Prophet said to her, "Buy her, that is Briar, and manumit her, for the wallah is for the one who manumits." Then Allah's apostle ascended the pulpit and said, "What about those people who stipulate conditions which are not in Allah's laws? Whoever stipulates such conditions as are not in Allah's laws, then those conditions are invalid even if he stipulated 100 such conditions." Number 894, narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle said, "Allah has 99 names, that is 100-1, and whoever knows them will go to paradise. Please see Hadith number 419 volume 8. Number 895, narrated Ibn Umar bin Khattab got some land in Khaybar and he went to the Prophet to consult him about it, saying, "O Allah, Apostle, got some land in Khaybar better than which I have never had, what do you suggest that I do with it?" The Prophet said, "If you like you can give the land as endowment and give its fruits in charity." So Umar gave it in charity as an endowment on the condition that it would not be sold nor given to anybody as a present and not to be inherited, but its yield would be given in charity to the poor people, to the kith and kin, for freeing slaves, for Allah's cause, to the travelers and guests. And that there would be no harm if the guardian of the endowment ate from it according to his need with good intention, and fed others without storing it for the future.